things were fine. Like it was fine. It wasn't toxic. It was fine. But I'm like, I feel like life is meant for more than fine. Like you spend so many hours of your day at work. Fine just wasn't cutting it.
Welcome to Aligned and Abundant, the podcast where authenticity meets practicality, compassion, alignment, and abundance. I'm your host, Christine Marcario, and I help you slow down, become mindful, improve your mental and emotional health, and live life on your highest timeline. Together, we'll talk strategy, life lessons, and share inspiring stories of people who have overcome obstacles, grown through their pain, and risen above adversity. If you are looking for divine inspiration rooted in love and light, paired with practical tools and encouragement, you are in the right place at the right time. From one heart to another, you are an amazing and divine soul with a purpose. Now take my hand and let's walk this path together. Welcome to another episode of Aligned and Abundant. On today's episode, I have a very special guest. Her name is Irina Young. Irina spent 13 years at Google before stepping into a different kind of success. Now, a certified purpose coach, she works with high achievers when their old identity no longer fits. They know they're made for more, but can't quite see the path forward. She believes purpose is revealed through authenticity, and that alignment is what leads to abundance. Irina shares her work through private coaching, group workshops, and her growing YouTube channel. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. And just by reading your bio, the key words that are standing out to me is obviously alignment and abundance, because that's what I'm all about. So welcome, and I'm so glad that you're here.
So good to be here. And I'm excited to be here because of the aligned and abundance alignment. So it works out perfectly. I really feel like everything comes back to whether you want to call it alignment or congruence or matching who you are and what you do. It's kind of the secret to life, just like
Yeah,
the alignment, right?
exactly. And a little backstory, I met you at Kathy Heller's retreat back in September, and I just loved your energy. I know that we didn't really get to connect, but you were someone that stood out to me as just having this energy about you that seemed welcoming and friendly and safe. And we were in a room of about 70 different women, each with their own success and things that we're all working through. But what also called to me is that you are a purpose coach. So, out of all the titles we can choose for ourselves, I know it's so funny because I swear I change my titles often because it's okay to realize that one title just doesn't fit because that's life, right? So tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do as a purpose coach.
Sure. So my title wasn't that hard because my certification is in Dharma coaching, and Dharma is a Sanskrit word for soul purpose. It actually has like 16 definitions, but that's one of them. So I went with purpose coach. For people who are trained as like yoga teachers who I've worked with, they're familiar with Sanskrit. And so they like to call me their Dharma coach. But that's how I came up with the title. In terms of what it means and why it's important, I used to always say that I never knew what I wanted to be when I grow up. And it's kind of been this thing my entire life. So I've had a pretty successful career, at least on paper, and I'm really proud of my accomplishments. I'm from an immigrant family. My parents put me only on one of two paths. I can be a doctor or I can be a lawyer. As a kid, I did want to be a teacher. So I did want to know what I wanted to be when I grow up. But because that wasn't part of what my family said was acceptable, I forgot that I always knew. Coaching is not necessarily teaching, but I do have my YouTube channel where I teach concepts. So I found a way to bring that in. And so my path has been very much like, what am I here to do? Even when I was at Google for 13 years, like that's a really long time. It always felt like I was seeking meaning in the work that I was doing and trying to see how I can bring more of myself to what I do. For example, I really like problem solving creatively and bringing beauty to the work that I do. So I would be the person who edited communications because there's a beauty to articulating something in the correct way. I would be the person who spent a lot of time designing the slides that we would use in presentations because I think it really matters, and clarity is a piece of it, but it's just there's something peaceful about things that look nice. So even though I was at a tech company, and I did a product strategy. So I wasn't an engineer. I know people think of Google and think of the computer science people, and that's half the company. But yeah, I always tried to find ways to like weave in who I was, which is sort of the connection to the authenticity piece in my bio. Purpose and authenticity, I always say, are deeply intertwined. You can't be in your purpose if you're not being your true self. And that's that alignment piece that we talked about in the beginning. So that maybe starts to paint a picture for little bit of the upbringing to the purpose in the career, but it's big, right? Like we all have such a long story with a lot of turns and twists, and maybe some of it's expected and maybe a lot of it's not.
Yeah, exactly. And I do believe that you can pivot at any age in your life. So if you're feeling that pull, that there's something more, that curiosity, that there's something more that you should be listening to, I totally agree to take the risk and take the chance and try it out. So it sounds to me that, well, one, I want to back up a little bit. So you had two choices from your parents, and that was to be a lawyer or a doctor, which are both
Mm-hmm.
prestigious positions that require a lot of education and would ideally make a lot of money for you and the family.
Right.
So, and then instill within them, I'm sure, a lot of pride. Did you do either of those?
Funny enough, I majored in finance, which my family also did not approve of, even though people in finance make a lot of money. I wanted to be an investment banker at Goldman Sachs. That was my goal. I went into it because I was good at math. That was it. I really didn't think too much about it. And I knew that you could make money. As a kid, I always saw myself like wearing a power suit and like working in a high rise, which is so not where I'm at now. But we change, right? And we need to allow that evolution. So I majored in finance. Family didn't understand or support it. And, a lot of times, even though they mean well, friends, family, or community, they prescribe a paved path, and it's the one that they know. And I'm from Ukraine. Maybe in Ukraine, investment banking wasn't a thing, but doctors and lawyers were. And so they wanted safety, right? Predictability, safety, stability. But I don't know. So, like, you may as well follow what you like, right? So, I majored in finance. And then there was one book that I read that changed my trajectory there. It's called Monkey Business. Hilarious book. It was written by investment bankers. And that's where I learned, like, oh my God, they work so much. They sleep at their desks because it's not worth going home to sleep. That's how intense it is. And I did know I wanted a family. And I was like, I don't want that lifestyle. So I pivoted. I kept my major. But when it was time to do internships, I moved toward marketing and sort of more of that creative flair. So I had really cool opportunities I was at ABC Television in marketing. I was at Warner Music Group doing a form of marketing. And my first job out of college was at a different tech company. And eventually that got me to Google. But I was there for only a year before I left to go to what my husband calls the other G, because it was from Goldman Sachs as my initial goal to Google. So that's really it. I never thought I would get to Google because when I was in school, again, finance major, I had a lot of business classes, but Google was the company that one of my projects was on. It was a capstone project. And I knew how hard it was to get hired there. There was no way this immigrant girl from Brighton Beach was gonna get to that company, especially at that time. They only hired people from Ivy League schools. It wasn't even a possibility for me. And the way that it happened was my husband was doing a continuing education program. Somebody in the program worked at Google, offered to send in my resume. This was all done behind my back, by the way. Like, I didn't even know this was happening. And then I got an interview at Google and it was
Right.
shocking. It was
Everything
shocking.
happens for a reason. And that is such a cool story that you, one, followed your gut. You realized, like, this is not the life that I want. It's going to
Mhm.
be more demanding than I ever imagined, even though the power suit sounds pretty cool. And the fact that you were able to get into Google is such a prestigious honor because, yeah, when you think Google, you think like conglomerate, like huge, massive. So tell me a little bit about what made you decide to step away from that position. You spent what,
So
13 years there, and then you chose this no longer feels like it's in alignment for me.
right, exactly. And there were definitely points in my career that were major highs, and I loved it. And I loved almost everyone that I worked with. I had wonderful managers, which is why my family still thinks I'm nuts for leaving. Like, how can you leave that? It is a hard company to get hired at. I took 8 interviews. At the time, I remember Google has changed, but at the time they were very big on like making you feel like you got to know how special you are for being here. So it's harder to get hired at Google than go to Harvard or to get into NASA. And so can you imagine you finally get it, like the imposter syndrome, even though you're there? It was really crazy. So anyway, that within a year kind of settled and I felt like I belonged. I had a really good career there. I would say the last few years before I made the final choice to leave, things were fine. Like it was fine. It wasn't toxic. It was fine. But I'm like, I feel like life is meant for more than fine. Like you spend so many hours of your day at work. Fine just wasn't cutting it. And ultimately, what that manifested as was I was exhausted all the time because even though I became a master of efficiency, of delegating, of prioritizing, like I was known for this, I was wiped. Like it was just, and that's one of the big signs as a purpose coach that I help my clients work through is what are the signs that let you know that your current chapter might be wrapping up? And then, of course, figuring out what's next. So that was one of the signs for sure. And I also found I've always been interested in spirituality and energetics and sort of holistic living. And I was trying to like really insert it into what I was doing. Like I remember I was doing a massive presentation to like 1,000 of our clients. And I worked on YouTube product strategy, on like insights and measurement and planning. And I put in a mindfulness moment. So there was a slide, and I just told everyone, I'm like, hey, I know you're running from a million different places, trying to get settled. Let's just take a second to breathe. And it was like 30 seconds. And then we moved right into insights, planning, and measurement. But that was so it was scary in a way because nobody does that kind of thing in that kind of presentation, but it was well received and it felt so good. And then I was like craving more of that. I'm like, this is one slide is not enough. So that was a pivotal moment for me. It was the tiniest thing, but I was like, I need more. And so getting signs like that made me realize like, how do I do more? And I didn't know. I didn't know. I ended up signing up for the program that ended up certifying me as a purpose coach, but I signed up for it for my own purpose discovery. I knew it was a coaching program, but I like didn't care about that in the sense that I was like, oh, the coaching will benefit me at Google, right? Like it'll make me a better Googler. People who work at Google are called Googlers. And I did it for my own personal development. And in that process and that curriculum and that program, it was so obvious that being a coach was what I was meant to do. Because when we would do practice sessions, everyone's like, are you a therapist already? Are you a coach? Within 30 minutes? They're like crying and having these breakthroughs. And I'm like, no. And so when you keep getting cues like that, you can't help but notice, right? In all the exercises and practices that we were doing, I remembered that I always wanted to be a teacher. And I felt like coaching can be such a nice way to weave in. There's so much timeless wisdom out there around like how to elevate your energy, how to feel better in your day, how to make decisions better, how to use your time, how to be yourself. And yeah, coaching helps you share that with the world because that was something that I felt like I was absorbing and learning so much information from books and podcasts and programs and courses. And it just felt like it's not right to just keep that for myself or as one-offs share it with people I happen to be in conversation with who are interested. And so that was starting to bubble up of like, I have to share. This is too good to not share. So all of that kind of came together and made me realize it's time. It's time. And this is the next step. I'm all about what's the next line step. Like, I don't know in 10 years what I'm going to be doing. How can any of us know? Right. Because I went into coaching, that's probably also why I started the YouTube channel. Right. Whereas if I decided to go to another tech company and maybe do a more creative job or something like that, like I probably wouldn't have a YouTube channel. So it's like your next aligned step helps you see sort of 6 steps ahead in terms of like, if you're like lighting a flashlight type of thing, like you just need to see a little bit ahead. You don't need to see the whole future.
I love that metaphor, and I oftentimes refer back to it because if you just take that first step, the next step gets easier and easier, and then the path gets unveiled. And when you're at the start, when you're like, where am I going to go? You have so many choices. There's so many paths that lie ahead of you. But once you start going down one path, and it's just like walking through a forest. Okay, this no longer feels good, so I'm going to shift. Okay, that no longer feels good, so I'm going to shift. Or going in that direction feels right. So I love that the universe was literally sending you messages through the opportunities that were presented to you, the conversations that you had. And I'm sure in that quest for knowledge in your program, to become a certified purpose coach, where the intention going in was, hey, I'm just going to do this for my own personal growth and I can probably apply it to my job, then led to, wait, there's a lot more behind this and it feels really good. Let me explore that. So I want to commend you for one, following those whispers that the universe was presenting to you, because for so many people, myself included, we hear them, we recognize them, but we're not brave enough to take the leap. We're not brave enough to step into the unknown. You had a safe, secure job, most likely. You never know with this crazy economy. But
Exactly.
at the moment, you had a
Yeah.
safe, secure job and you chose to take that leap of faith. Tell me what that looked like for you. How did you know that it was time? How was it received by your husband? Give me a little bit of insight into how your brain was processing this.
Ooh, so I am very much in my mind. Anyone who's into Ayurveda and knows the doshas, which is your mind body type, I'm a vata, so air type, very in my head, logical, lots of thinking. About a year before all of this, I worked with a coach for the first time. She's a spiritual life coach, Emily Shickley, shout out. She taught me to recognize what my intuition feels like. And I invested a lot to work with the coach and gain these skills. And why would I do that and not follow it? So I was kind of on this journey of trusting my intuition. I even got a dog, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but I had been scared of dogs my entire life. And my kids wanted a dog and they had been begging for years. And this intuitive hit was when there was an opportunity to get a dog, my body said yes, even though my mind said absolutely not. And even though the mind said no, I was like, I said I want to listen to my body's wisdom more. So I went with it. I'm obsessed with this dog now. It took months. My daughter every week would be, do you love him yet? And I'm like, I care about him, but I don't love him. I don't. And it took a few months, but now I'm like, he sleeps with me. I mean, I get like, who have I become? And so as you do this more, you get feedback that reinforces that you can trust this. Cause like the dog ended up being a good decision. So far, leaving Google has been a good decision. So I just wanted to back up and share that like there had been some work done before on the intuition piece and sort of trusting that. Then all the stuff around, I was tired, I wasn't excited about what I was doing. My husband was supportive, but we are, grown-ups with a home and children. And we did want to go about it responsibly. You mentioned me leaping, and it's true, I did. I chose to leave Google so that I could do this, but most people don't take the leap. Most people transition slowly. So I just want to call that out, that just because you're ready for something else does not mean that you have to jump into it. Micro action that's aligned and inspired is totally reasonable and smart and right for the majority of people. So I just think that's important to clarify. But I did take the leap, and there are people who do. And it was just enough things sort of lined up in terms of my energetic readiness. Interestingly, also, when I worked with Emily, my coach, there was a moment where I had this like intuitive hit of I'm going to be a coach, but I ignored it, forgot about it because I'm like, this makes no sense. I was like at Google, I had no desire or thought to leave at that point. Although I knew I needed something more, I just assumed that more would come from like shifting my responsibilities at my current job versus like leaping and becoming a coach. What? So yeah, those were some of the things that were happening.
I love the piece that you also said you spent all of this time, energy, and money into investing in yourself. Why would you waste that? And I totally agree with you because if you're saying yes to something that is changing you as a person, developing you as a person, and tapping into that intuitiveness, which I love, and then trusting that, like the universe was testing you. They were saying, can you and will you trust yourself? So I get the whole dog experience because I myself, well, one, I'm not a dog person
Okay.
yet. My
Yeah.
husband is obsessed with wanting to get a dog. And so we
Mhm.
have like a running joke that he'll get a dog when I die. And I'm like, that's so horrible. But on the other hand, more recently, I'm like, okay, maybe I didn't tell him this and he's going to hear this now on the podcast, but maybe I'd be open to a dog sooner than later because it's something that would bring him joy. So it's kind of funny that that happened in the way that it did. And really, I do believe in preparing ourselves for holding more. The universe will only give us what we can hold. So even that minor experience, well, it could have been major for you, but even being open to the idea of bringing a pet into your home, such as a dog that you never imagined you would have, was like a test. It's like, can she be open to this? And then eventually in time, you said it yourself, like you love the dog now.
I
And
do.
so that kind of created the momentum of like, okay, she's open to new things. And sometimes when we're going down a certain path and everything's fine, like you said, it's like it's not enough to drive you crazy, but there's still something that feels like it's missing. The universe gives us opportunities, I think, to pivot, but we have to be ready. And so I feel like from what I'm hearing is that you were starting to put in the work
Hmm.
of where could there be more potentiality? Where could there be more possibilities? I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I was a middle school English teacher for 19 years. And I do feel that the skills that you have as a teacher can absolutely apply to being a coach because you are teaching someone, you're
100%.
coaching them on how to live a better life. And so it's definitely a job that can easily allow you the opportunity to use your gifts and talents. And whether it's with a one on one client or it is on YouTube, because I, for one, am always on YouTube. Like if I don't know how to do something, the first thing I do is go to YouTube. And I have inspirational people that I just listen to. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like just to go on and I feel like we're friends. Like they know me and I know them because you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just so funny that it's just an amazing platform. So what made you think to go on YouTube? I'm just kind of curious as to like you're like you just wake up one day and you're like, I'm gonna have a YouTube channel.
I mean, yes and no. Like I've known that I want to share all the stuff that I invest in and learn with the world. And then the question is kind of like via what platform? I think having been in tech, I'm pretty anti-tech overall. I think it's really just killing our dopamine signals and having kids, it's just really concerning what they get exposed to as their brains develop and just all the
Yep.
things. And there's so much value, right? Like I have benefited significantly from finding Kathy Heller, for example, and the program that I did to get certified as a coach. Like I wouldn't be able to find that if not for tech, right? So it's always like it's a tool and how are you using it? I'm passionate though about attention. And I just worry that we have a hard time with presence because we're so scattered every 2 seconds. You're getting a new reel. And so I wanted long form also to teach, like doing it in 6 seconds doesn't do justice to the concepts. So I knew I wanted long form. I considered LinkedIn at some point just because I have the corporate background and I do think corporate can benefit so much from some of these principles. But YouTube just called to me when I was a little kid. I would just like talk to myself, pretending I was like on a cooking show as I was making cereal, like, and now we're going to pour in. And there was a part of me at some point that wanted to be like a news anchor. When I was in middle school, I was in a drama program. I forgot about this part of my life. And I did some gigs like for documentaries, and I was in National Geographic. So I have a little bit of like film commercial modeling stuff in my background from a long, long, long time ago. So in a way, like it's not surprising that I wanted to be not just audio, right? There's the visual component. So it just kind of came to me. I do think it's funny that I worked on YouTube almost my entire career at Google, in some way touched YouTube, but not in any way that is meaningful as a creator. I always worked on the advertiser side. So I'm like, oh my God, you would think I spent so much time at the company, because Google owns YouTube, just to clarify how I worked at YouTube, if I'm saying I worked at Google. And yeah, I don't know anything about the algorithm. I'm really starting new, just like anybody else would be. But I do wonder if like a part of me is like that's still that connection to all the YouTube stuff that I had done over the years. Yeah, that's it. Not super scientific. It was just the one that was the most exciting. I tend to tell my clients this all the time, like just follow what lights you up. The why doesn't usually matter. Just go for it if you can and see where it takes you. And I have felt that it is the right platform. It's definitely the long game with long form content. Like you don't go viral overnight. I actually don't recommend going viral overnight. Our nervous systems can't handle something like that. That's a lot really fast. So I'm happy to do the slow build. And my goal really is to share the stuff that's exciting to me, that's helpful. My daughter, we were playing, we're not like lottery people, but it was like $1 billion. And my daughter convinced me to play. We did not win, just in case you were wondering. But she asked me, she's like, Mom, if we win, this is before we knew, would you still do your YouTube? And it was like, yeah, like I didn't even have to think about it. So do what lights you up is really it. Maybe I could figure out all the technical reasons why, but like, it doesn't matter. It's exciting.
There's so many things that I want to touch upon that you said. One, I did not know that Google owns YouTube. So
Yes.
that's something new
Yes.
I learned today.
Yeah.
Two, I really do love that question of if you won the lottery. So if money is no longer an issue or a worry, would you still do it? So that right there shows that you're in the right place at the right time. It's feeling good to you. It's
Right.
what you preach, right? Practice what you preach. It's
Yeah.
lighting you up. And I love that because for someone like me who wanted to always be a teacher and get my voice out there and share and learn and teach other people, I think YouTube is a great place to go because so many people do go to YouTube. And I recognize that it's super important to get your voice out there. And that's just one of the many ways that you can. There
Yep.
are a plethora of different ways that you can put your voice out there. And I also wanted to say that I feel like you just intuitively knew. It's funny for me because I feel like I'm supposed to be on TikTok, and then my logical brain is like, TikTok, like I don't really know TikTok. So I've been teaching myself after, resisting and resisting. I'm
Mhm.
like, all right, Facebook is so easy. And then it's like, okay, Instagram's the new thing. And then I was like, okay, so now I'm comfortable on Instagram, but it's like my spirit team is like, you need to get on TikTok. And I'm like, well, I don't know anything about TikTok. So the point is, I think that we are guided, and when we listen, it can become easier
Yep.
than the resistance and the logic setting in, because I'm very much so in my head as well. And so it's more or less figuring out what lights you up and what feels good. So it's leaning into your heart or your sacral or whatever it is that you know about yourself as an individual, because it's not going to feel the same for every single person, and
Totally.
leaning with it and going with it and seeing what feels good. And I also want to say, I do like that you added in, like, just don't take the leap. It can't be like you wake up and you're like, I hate this job, I'm going and I'm quitting. No, you need to have some type of game plan. So I love that you were responsible leading up to it. I don't think that there's anything wrong with recognizing that you're ready to make a shift and then take those micro aligned steps to getting there. Most of the time, like if you're learning just to swim, I know there's different methodologies out there, but you don't just like throw yourself into the deep end and like hope you'll come up, like you kind of start in the shallow end with the doggy paddle, and when you're ready, you'll know. So it's a process.
Wait, Christine, I have to ask, what is
Yeah.
your next micro step then for the TikTok? What are you going to do?
Yeah. So ironically, I started following this person, Abel Hart. I don't know if you've seen him on TikTok. So he has these songs that are really kind of inspirational, and then he sets them to hertz music, which I'm all about as a Reiki practitioner. Like I love the different hertz and how it affects our body. So I attended one of his master classes, and basically he gave a formula to, okay, and this is where my nervous system is not ready yet. So to post the video, so I've posted the videos, I'm like 3 days in, but then I eventually have to be able to go live. But I think I need a certain amount of followers to go live. So if you're listening, check out my TikTok. So yeah, I'm leaning towards that, and then also learning to batch, because I was like, dang, how do I come up with content every day? And he's like, no, 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 no. When you're feeling really good and into yourself, then you batch like crazy, and then you release slowly. So kind of like building the little nest egg before you start investing. So I'm all about that. So yes, that is part of my current personal challenge right now. And then if it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel good. And then I'll pivot again. But right now I'm in the thick of it with TikTok.
I love it. You got to go for it. And yes, as you come up with ideas, I feel like I'm in like yoga class and they say something and then I'm like, oh, must remember this
Yeah.
because they want to make a whole video on it. So I just have like a doc where I track all my ideas and I'm trying to create themes around them, right? Because we do have themes that we talk about manifesting, abundance, whatever it is. And then when you're like, all right, I'm going to record something, you can go to your list and be like, what am I in the mood for today? It's almost like a menu that you can pick from. What am I in the mood to cover today? And that's how I end up making all my videos. So I wonder if that could be helpful for TikTok as well. I'm not on TikTok. I don't know as much about it, but it's where it's at. And TikTok, I know, is known for being kind of more like the cutting edge. So like things start there before they go to the other social networks. So that's kind of fun. A lot of opportunity there to like do things differently and out of the box.
Yeah, and it's really funny because like, and nothing has gone viral yet, but I'll make like a video that I'm like, ah, yeah, I'll get a few, I'll get like a couple hundred, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty
Amazing.
shocking. Like, and followers, people will start following me, and I'm like, I didn't think I said anything too impressive, but I guess that's cool. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, all right, I'm down for it. And
Yeah.
then my girlfriend was just recently telling me that the YouTube shorts are the way to go. So I'm like curious to see where that path's going to go too. So I don't know.
Right.
Technology, like you said, it's so crazy from when we grew up. Like I had a beeper, and you know what I mean? I had a house line in my bedroom. Like that was a cool thing to have. And now it's like a battle. There's so many blessings that come on the tech side. But like currently in my household, my middle son is 12 and I put him on a restriction. I'm like, this is enough. Like you're obsessed. And when you have time outside of being on your computer, it's almost like he doesn't even know what to do with himself. And I'm like, this is a problem. And I, as a responsible parent, I just can no longer allow it.
Yeah.
So he is now on restriction as far as how much he can be on the computer or the electronics. And it's really funny because he actually has a YouTube channel that I just learned about. Like, talk about like a slap in the face as far as parenting. I was like, wait, what? So he kept the secret from all of us. Like, his brother had a YouTube channel growing up also. It was called Gaming with Mike. And he would record himself and make cool edits of him playing like car games and whatnot. So I guess that got into my little son's head. And so he didn't tell any of us, but he's getting like 100 views on these
What?
silly little 10-second videos. And I'm like, okay, can you be my like social media manager? And he's like, I will. But it's really funny how different society is now with these kids. And it's like a curse and a blessing at the same time, because it rewires their brains for that dopamine hit. You know what I mean? And I find myself going down that rabbit hole sometimes too if I don't execute self-control and some discipline, you know?
I do. I'm literally almost done scripting my next video around what to do when you have a window of time for yourself and the default is reach for the phone. So there's like literally one question that can completely transform how you spend your time and then therefore how you feel the rest of the day. It's been very powerful for me. So I'm excited. It's funny. It's like the most random things are, oh my God, this is a whole video. Like everything could be content. On the kids and tech front, it is nuts to your point on how everything has changed in society. Like YouTubers are celebrities for them, not the traditional celebrities in Hollywood that we grew up with. So
Mhm.
I just find that so interesting. Like we were walking down the street and they were sure they saw some YouTuber I had never heard of and they were freaking out. Like they were literally freaking out the way that like if I saw, I don't know, Britney Spears or something back in the day, right? I would just like, Oh my God. And like Britney Spears, I mean, I know she's been having a hard time, but like she's just a human, right? Like the universe, we're all just humans. Like anybody can do anything. I mean, do the things that are exciting to you because then it'll feel good. But the point is, if you believe it, you can be it. Like you really can, but you do have to hear the nudges, and there's an element of trusting, and it's from within in a way. But then there are signs that the universe sends you also. So one of the first things I learned in the Dharma Coaching Institute was that when you're on the path of your purpose, doors kind of just open, like things flow a little bit more easily. And the reason for that is it's like you're operating from your level. It's like you're supposed to be on this frequency and now you're starting to get on it. So therefore, the things that are on that frequency are available to you. And oh, there they are. And that's one of the biggest signs. So like just to sort of wrap up the conversation on some of the signs I had, I wasn't certified yet and I got my first client. I wasn't trying, right? Like I wasn't even in a mindset of getting clients yet. And I was just like, oh my God, that's what they meant. And does that mean that everything's easy all the time? No, of course not. But there are sort of breadcrumbs that you get. And I think it's more nudges for you to say, like, you're on the right path, right? But you have to notice them, realize what they mean, and then keep moving. So it's this conversation with your inner world and the intuition and the feelings and also what you're seeing on the outside if you're present enough to notice.
Exactly. Being open to the possibilities. And I think it's starting your mindset in a different way than just getting up and feeling like you have to do the things and going on autopilot. It's being open to the possibilities because when you're raising your frequency, like you said, everything is here and available. It's a matter of what energy match is out there for you. And then that's when you start seeing those open doors, the possibilities, the conversations, the offer that has been in your email 17 times that finally you're like, huh, let me pay attention to that. And that feels good. That looks good. And then you sign up, and then 6 months later, you're a whole different person because you took that opportunity that was literally right there in front of you the whole time. So it's really wild. And I think it goes back to trusting yourself. And I really just love also the mention of like your intuition. Your
Mhm.
intuition is really your guidepost, and it's there to steer you in the right direction or to steer you away from something. And so I think that the more that we tune into our own intuition and what lights us up, the more clarity we'll bring into our lives instead of the fulfillment of expectations. You know, your parents wanted you to be and do something. Just like my parents, like my father, once I became a teacher, he was so, so proud that I was a teacher. And it took a little while for him to understand that I am still a teacher, but I'm not serving in the same capacity that I was. And so it took a while for him to understand that. And I wouldn't even say that he's still all the way there. But like you said, this is, our life, and we want to make the best of it. And as a parent myself, and I can imagine being in the same situation as when you see a path that you want for your child or you think that would serve them best and keep them safe and be a smart choice, and then they choose to go somewhere differently. It can definitely dysregulate your nervous system or your expectations or your hopes or whatever you had for that child. But at the end of the day, knowing what I know now, I've learned that I have to really give them the space to figure it out on their own and then just be there if it doesn't work out. Like that's my goal as a parent. Because at the end of the day, I've just seen too many people go down the same path of, I went to school to become an accountant and then I was completely miserable when all along I knew I was supposed to be an animator. Do you know what
Right.
I mean? Like, and that's a lot of wasted time, and I know that everything happens for a reason or a purpose, and we have to experience the lows to really appreciate the highs. But at the end of the day, if you also have that knowing,
Yep.
I think that's really important is to teach more, I don't know, more mindfulness, more spirituality, more
Mhm.
touching into who you are as a person. Because really, I think that the universe or God or whomever you want to say does help us. And
Yes.
so it's just a matter of not being so cloudy in that judgment and getting stuck in our heads.
Not worrying so much about like the end state of, let's say you don't want to be an accountant anymore and you want to be an animator, right? Like that is a big change. And just going back to sort of like, what are the micro steps? Maybe watch a YouTube video on animation, or connect with someone who's an animator. I don't know, find them on LinkedIn, or like find them through whoever your favorite animator is and go on their website and reach out to them and have a conversation. You never know where it's going to go. It really doesn't have to be like, I'm dropping everything and I'm going to animation school and this is all I'm doing. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. And I think people get stuck there and they make no action. They take no action at all. And the point is, take some sort of action. A prompt I love to ask people is, if you are in the exact same place 1 year from now, how does that feel? And if it's constriction and like dread, you got to start taking some kind of action and just figure out what feels comfortable to your nervous system. If a year from now being in the same role feels good or expansive, then great, you're probably in the right place. And maybe if you feel like something's missing, it could be more of like, maybe you aren't moving your body enough and you want to go try pickleball or something like that, and you can kind of figure out what that is. But we generally know when we are not in the right place anymore, and then it's a question of, how do I move on? And we need help, right? Like we all, whether it's mentors, friends, peers, coaches, therapists, like we need that outside perspective and the accountability that comes with sharing what we want to do with somebody else to sort of help guide us, right? Like it's your life, it's your decision. But sometimes one sentence from somebody else could be all that it takes to inspire you to go do that next thing. And that's what I have felt has been the most rewarding part of being a coach. If we want to compare to the Google stuff, just the level of how rewarding it is next level for me. And I think that is also a sign you can kind of look for, is what you do rewarding? Is it meaningful? Does it make you feel like that's the reason that you're here? Like, are you sharing your gifts in what you're doing? And I tell people all the time, you can have a corporate job and be sharing your gifts. I feel like sometimes people think like, oh, I can't be in a 9 to 5 and be happy. And that's not true at all. You totally can be in the right environment with the right team and in the right role. So I just want to put that out there too, because that's like a common myth that people have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up as well, because if anyone is listening and they're like, I love my 9 to 5, that
Yeah.
is great. Like, go with what makes
Mhm.
you feel good. There's no right or wrong when it comes to living your chosen aligned path. And I think the takeaway is that you need to just do and be what feels good for you. And so, on that end note, if you were to leave our listeners today with any last words of advice, what would you want to share?
I feel like I'll do it more in bullets, if that works.
Yeah.
So the notion of micro action is huge, which connects to following what lights you up. So follow what lights you up in small ways. That's the micro action piece. I have to reiterate the authenticity and purpose being deeply intertwined part. And authenticity means that if you don't want to go to that dinner, you don't have to go to that dinner. Like it just means honoring where you're at right now kindly is what I always say, right? With kindness and gratitude. Thank you so much for the invitation. Can't make it. Let's find another time to connect. Like whatever that thing is, just just be yourself. Like it's honestly the best advice that we've ever heard. Those are probably the two main things. Like be yourself, and in the quest toward that, take micro action.
Yeah. And what I'm thinking is sometimes people say they don't even know who they are anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so just recognizing and being okay that you might have gone down a path so deeply that you might not recognize who you are, but
Mm-hmm.
having the belief that you can always go back and return to the innerness of who you are. So I don't want to say going back to the person you once were, because I used to think that, but now I don't, because we are constantly growing and shifting and evolving. And so I think it's important to recognize that we need to constantly move forward. But I do think that what you said is a truth, that everyone can learn from, which is just to be yourself, because you're your own unique fingerprint. No
Yep.
one is quite like you. There might be similarities, but you are your own unique person. And that's why you have to figure out, right? It's part of life. You have
Yeah.
to figure out what lights you up, what makes you feel good, and why you're here. We're all here for a reason and a purpose. And it doesn't have to be this big, grandiose thing. You saying a kind word to someone at Target who was feeling really, really low and
Yeah.
depressed might be a turning point for them. And that could be your big thing. In your mind, it might not be. It just might be you being kind because that's just part of your integrity. But in the grand scheme of life, it could be huge in their life. So also not putting so much pressure on ourselves to be and do all the things. It's in divine timing as well. And so I want to thank you so much for being a guest on today's episode. And can you please share with the listeners where we can find you? I'm also going to drop that information in the show notes because I would highly recommend checking out Irina's YouTube channel and working with her if you are feeling the pull. And tell us where we can find you.
Sure. So my website is my name, irinayoung.com. And then my YouTube channel handle is I am Irina Young.
I love that. I love that. And again, I highly recommend checking her out and seeing what she has to offer.
For your listeners, I would be happy to offer a free mini session to 3 listeners. Just reach out. My email is on my website. It can be really helpful to just have 30 minutes with a coach. In fact, when I was at Google, I was a career coach there on the side, and the coaching that we provided other Googlers were 30-minute sessions, and there's a lot that you can do there. And so in that spirit, I'd love to offer that to your listeners as well.
That is such a generous offer, and all of the information, again, will be in the show notes. So thank you so much for your time today and your expertise and knowledge, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much.
If you've been feeling the pull for deeper transformation, real, lasting change that starts from within, I'd love to invite you into transformational one-on-one coaching with me. This is where alignment becomes your new normal. You'll get 4 90-minute sessions at an introductory offer of $600, designed to help you release what's holding you back, reconnect with your truth, and step into the next version of yourself, fully and unapologetically. You can book your sessions through the link in my bio. Just tap my link tree to get started. Your next breakthrough is closer than you think, and I'd love to be a part of your journey.